this is a really big topic that you could honestly look at it in so many different ways. And what I've prepared for you is kind of my way of thinking about this topic that has developed over the years. Ultimately, I think you have to use your ears if you want to improvise, but maybe by breaking down the scales and thinking about the arpeggios and thinking about different techniques to highlight those chord tones is going to get you started down the right path. So today we're looking at the key of G major. We're talking about the G major scale, the G major arpeggio, and important chords that come up like D7 and A minor 7, playing different styles of music. And the backing tracks that I've created for you really have a little bit of kind of a bluegrass feel because that's where I started. But also I've prepared a couple for you that are more like a jazzy rhythm and with jazzier chords like G major 7 and A minor 7. So thanks again and enjoy. So our first topic, we're going to look at the major scale. And for this whole lesson, I'm going to be using G major. And from that scale, we're going to build upon that and basically make different chords and try to navigate, making it sound like you're playing over those different chords just by using that G major scale. And so a term that's really important that you'll hear a lot just in music theory is diatonic. And diatonic means that if we're playing a diatonic scale and a diatonic chord progression, then all of the chords are going to be built from using the notes from that major scale. And so, for instance, our major scale, just to clarify, we have G, so if we arpeggiate that, we're playing the first, the third, the fifth, and then the root again, or the eighth note. And for each of those scale notes, for instance, the second note in the scale would be A. We can play the same G major scale starting on that note, and that basically sounds like this. Now, if we arpeggiate that scale, or basically starting from the A note, and we're playing the first, the third, the fifth, and maybe the root again, or possibly the seventh, here in a second, I'll show you that, then that would sound something like this. So because we're using that G major scale starting on A, then that dictates that we are going to be playing an A minor. Now, that's true for all of the notes of the scale. So if we did B, you'd have C would be D, and then E, and then you have F sharp, and then G again. So now in jazz music, a lot of times we're playing these extensions to the scales that sound a little prettier. Like when we play chords and arpeggios, it's going to have a major 7. So for instance, like our G would be G major 7. And so a really good practice technique that you can do if you're trying to figure out how to play over G major, we're just going to vamp on G, and then you're going to be coming up with these different twists and turns, basically looking to make it interesting. So ultimately, we have to be landing on our arpeggio notes. And if you want it to sound like major 7, which I've been focusing on, then you're gonna have that major 7, that F sharp note in there as well. And also the E, like if it's a G6, that's very relevant. Like that's a great note to provide a little bit of tension, but then ultimately you kind of want to resolve back to one of the arpeggio notes. So a really great exercise is to basically play along to G using a backing track. So I've recorded guitar and bass, and I'm just looking for twists and turns and something that's more interesting than just the scale. And so what I want you to focus on, and what you can see in the written materials, the transcription of this solo that's about to happen, is that I'm using those arpeggio notes. I'm using all the notes from the G G scale, but we're landing on the arpeggio notes, and then we're using those passing notes and these little patterns and twists and turns and enclosure to create interest, and we're doing it in a rhythmic way. So